views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona, this is Brother Mike. Yes, back on the radio. They can't get rid of me around here. Today's Bible study, perverted priests. Oh my God, not again. It's perverts on parade. Hey, will you call somebody and tell the radio program's on right now? Don't call a Catholic. I'll make a couple announcements while you make that call. Hey, this is Brother Mike. I am the professional counselor from the new Arizona Deliverance Center in the heart of Maricopa County, Arizona. We are on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. On the website, hardcorechristianity.com, we have all of our services there, all of our ministries that we have going on at the Deliverance Center. We have 2 services a week, Thursdays and Friday nights at 7 o'clock. Each service has healing, teaching, preaching, and deliverance. The seminar coming up at the end of the month, the last Friday of the month. Check the website. Part 4, and this is our final part of the spirit world. I've had tremendous interest in these seminars. You'll learn so much you never dreamed you could learn. Remember, all of our radio programs are always available. By the way, they go back 3 years, if you want to go back that far, on soundcloud.com/hardcore-Christianity. Remember, if you want to sell your home with a Christian and get a reduced commission, please go to the homepage on the website and contact our sponsor, West USA Realty. And may God richly bless you. Perverted priests. Wow. This is an issue that's been going on since 500 A.D. Priests in the Roman Catholic Church have had a hideous time trying to live Christian lives. Of course, the Catholic Church has just struggled for centuries now with false doctrines, sexual perversion scandals, money scandals. I mean, there isn't a scandal you can imagine the Catholic Church hasn't gone through. And I know it sounds like I'm picking on Catholics. I am not. I love Catholics. They come to see me for deliverance. We never turn them away. I've had numerous Catholics delivered from demons and physically healed at the House of Healing. We're 100% in favor of Catholics. We love them. We want them all healed and delivered. But unfortunately, this priest concept in the Catholic Church has caused traumatic problems. Brother Mike, what are you talking about? They're at it again. Here's another major sex scandal breaking out in Rome among the Catholic priests at the Vatican and at other churches in Rome. Here's the article, quote, lurid accusations of priests involved in sex orgies, porn videos, and prostitution have emerged from several parishes in Italy recently. By this article, the paper, by the way, was written 2 weeks ago, sending shockwaves all the way to the Vatican and challenging the high standards of Pope Francis and his demands of the clergy. In the southern city of Naples, for example, a priest was recently suspended from the parish of Santa Maria over claims he had gay orgies and used internet sites to recruit potential partners whom he paid for sex. The allegations concerning Reverend Mario Di Orlando were brought to the attention of the diocese when an anonymous letter was sent to a Naples bishop. Di Orlando denied the charges when he was summoned by the city's archbishop, Cardinal Crescenzio Seppi, but is now facing a formal inquiry. Oh, okay, well that's great. Time to get another inquiry going. But the problem is, this new pope is not going to be able to fix the sexual perversion problem in Roman Catholicism. It is irreversible. and it cannot be fixed. And I'll explain that to you why it can't be fixed in just a couple seconds. You know, I had this long article that I was going to read to you here today, but I don't think I can get through it. It's too sickening. There was information about, you know, what they're going to do with these priests, how we're going to rehabilitate them, how they're going to get cured, and all this other stuff. You know, so on second thought, I think I'm going to skip all that. I can't handle that part. Let me get to the roots, the nuts and bolts of the priesthood, okay? Now, technically, to be a priest, the Roman Catholic Church has an application process that you have to go through. And they have a screening process that you also have to go through. They have a background check process that you have to go through. Now they have a psychiatric evaluation that you also have to go through. But anyway, the church, if let's say hypothetically you wanted to be a priest, here's what they would prefer in an applicant. It's very much like, almost exactly like a job application. You go in and you fill out a job app. You're applying for a position. Okay, in this particular case, let's say you're applying to be a priest. One, they prefer a bachelor's degree in either religion or philosophy. They prefer a graduate degree or a seminary certificate from a Catholic university. They will only accept males. There are some minor exceptions to that. They must be unmarried. There are some minor exceptions to that. They must never have been married. A translation, they must not have been divorced. They must have no desire to father children. And they must agree to never have sex. They must agree to never have sex. Now, right out of the gate here, you can see that we're in trouble. Just the concept of a priest and celibacy places the man at risk. He's at terrible risk, okay? Because it's unnatural in the vast majority of cases. You can never marry. You have no desire for children. You cannot marry a female. And you cannot be involved in any kind of sexual activity. Yeah. So right out of the gate here, we're in some deep trouble. First of all, let's take a look at God's Word and see where we stand. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And Paul is teaching the Corinthian church, and he's talking about some of these key issues here. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Paul says, quote, "Now concerning the things that you wrote to me about, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. Let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render to the wife due benevolence." I'm reading out of the King James Bible. Eunoia is the Greek word for benevolence there. It means conjugal duties. It means to provide sexual relations to the spouse. Then he says, likewise the wife also to the husband. Paul says the wife does not have power of her own body. Now that was mistranslated. The Greek word for power there is exousiazo. That means to have authoritative control over their bodies in the area of marital sexuality. The Greek word exousia is the Greek word for authority. Exousiazo is the Greek word for control or the exercising of that authority. The wife does not have exousiazo of her own body, but the husband. Likewise, the husband does not have exousiazo of his own body, but the wife. Paul says, quote, defraud not one another. The Greek word for defraud there is apostoreo. It means to deprive. What's Paul saying here? Listen, you when you're married, a male and a female, by the way, it's not a male and a male. Homosexuality is considered in the Greek New Testament porneia or fornication. Marriage is between a male and a female, husband and a wife, and each one must provide sexual benefits to the other. And Paul says, do not deny these benefits, except, he says, for a time, so you may spend some time fasting and praying. But, Paul says, then come together again so that Satan doesn't tempt you for your lack of having relations. Okay, this is all common sense now. Paul says, but I speak this by permission and not of commandment, for I would that all men were like myself. But every man has his proper gift of God, one after this manner, another after that. And I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it's good for them to remain as I am. But if they cannot contain, let them marry. Greek word for contain there is enkrateuomai. It means to exercise self-restraint or self-control. Paul says, quote, it is better to marry than it is to burn. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Paul is answering his critics. They were questioning his background, his qualifications, translation, who the heck do you think you are? Unquote. And Paul then answers it like this. He says, my answer to them that do examine me is this. Do we not have power to eat and drink? Now that's the Greek word we mentioned earlier, exousia. Authority. Do we not have authority to eat and drink? Do we not have power to lead about a sister or a wife? Periago is the Greek word for lead about that. It means to lead around or take around with you. What he's talking about there is Paul, as an itinerant preacher traveling around the Middle East, spreading the gospel, he would travel around with male companions and female companions, but only when they were together. In other words, he wouldn't travel with just a female. But there he's saying, do we not have authority to lead around a wife as well as the other apostles and the brethren of the Lord and Peter? So here it's saying that all these people, they were married. Many of them were married, and they were in the ministry. So the concept of the priesthood is a fabrication and a demonic lie. It's not in the New Testament. And the devil put it in there so that these sex scandals would continue unabated.
The views expressed on the preceding program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program has been sponsored by Michael W. Smith.